This Tuesday, my Aunt Carolyn died. Um, and since I can't be at the funeral, the celebration of life, um, I'm going to send this eulogy by by YouTube for those that may want to look at it during their time. Kind of put my thoughts on the matter and say what I would have said, or at least tried to say while I was there. Um, to call Aunt Carolyn a favorite aunt of mine would be the understatement of all time. Um, she was a whole lot more than that. Obviously, she was my favorite aunt. Um, she was bigger than life. I can remember from even the earliest times that I can remember. But there were many sides to her. Um, she's a person that important to you, kind of hard to sum up in just a few words. I mean, she was an aunt, obviously. She was a mentor. She was probably my biggest fan I ever had of pretty much everything I did. Um, Best friend, um, say like a second mom. Probably a lot of times I thought, man, Carolyn would be one real cool mom. Of course, it's just as many times I said, no, 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 no. Because Carolyn was different. She was herself. Um, it was sometimes hard to think of her as an adult. Um, she was more like a big sister um, that had kind of gone off to college and then come back, and there you were. Of course, that kind of makes me a mistake baby, I guess, at that point in time. But no, she was. She was like a big sister I never had. Um, and it wasn't just me. It was all the kids in the family, and by kids, I will probably refer to that a lot during this. The 6 core grandkids that all looked forward to spending time with her every time we visited and rallied all around her, waiting for our time that we'd have with her. Uh, I mentioned her passing to a friend of mine, and he asked how old she was, and then I told her as best as I could guess. I'm not going to try and insult her right now with what I said, but he said, "Gosh, I thought she was much, much younger than that." And I guess eh, Carolyn always related, or she always told me that she related better to younger people, and that went on, throughout her whole life. I mean, at every stage where I knew her, from early 30s on, she always related to people that were younger than her, and she enjoyed their passion. She was always interested in what they had to do. And back then, when you went to Birmingham, there wasn't a whole lot to do. I mean, a couple of channels on TV, which played absolutely nothing. Not very many kids to play with. Um, so a lot of our time when we went there, was spent sitting on the couch, listening, to the adults talk, and waiting for Carolyn to get off work. So we had somebody to play with and share what we've been doing and talk for hours and hours and go out and do stuff. And I mean, I think about all the grand trips to movies and stuff like that, but really the best time was just, sitting back in a room, just talking for hours and hours. And, you know, she'd show you her art books and things that were important to her, and she wanted to know everything you were doing. And, she was giving of her time, giving of herself, giving of her things. Um, yeah, one of her grand plans, and she had told me that when she passed, she had these plans. She was giving, large sums of money to all the kids, and from her insurance policy or whatever it was, it wasn't really that important. But she's told me, I'm giving you this much money, and I had specific instructions, and those instructions were that I was to take that money and just blow it. Could not buy something that made sense or was rational. Don't save the money. Just blow it and have fun. And that's, to me, out of it, it took, she didn't really want us, to mourn. She wanted us to reflect, maybe, and to celebrate her life. And she wanted us to take that money and blow it and have fun, because that's what she would have done. Now, I think we all know that Carolyn wasn't the greatest manager of money and all that. I do not believe that there is a Dunbar fortune we have to look forward to. If it is, it's lost out there somewhere with the Lost Dutchman's Mind and D.B. Cooper's millions that he got from the hijacking. We'll never find that money. But we should remember that, right now we are supposed to go out and just blow it, have fun, celebrate her life. I know you're going to have to mourn the loss, but remember really the kind of person she was and what she wanted. She was different. I remember her telling me one time that one coworker, they were having a disagreement on opinions and all that. And in exasperation, she looked at Carolyn and she said, "You're so weird." And Carolyn just shook her head and said, "Poor dear, you're so ordinary." She was weird. She was different. She certainly wasn't ordinary, and she did not worry about the fact that that's the way she was. And when you're like that, it's real easy to attack the person and all. But that stuff just rolled off of her. She didn't worry about it. It never stopped her from being who she was and believing what she believed in. A lot of people thought of her as being a big kid. She was a big kid. She was our big kid that we got to play with. John Cougar has, and I'm not going to put the Mellencamp on there, older song. There's a line in one of his songs that says, I'm going to paraphrase, but growing up only means that you're dying. And dying to me don't sound like a whole lot of fun. So, I think there's a big, huge difference between growing up and growing old. Carolyn may have succumbed to growing old, but I don't think she ever succumbed to the dangers of growing up, at least in my thoughts. She believed in living life and doing as much as she could, having a good time. There's an old passage, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you may die. I'm not even going to try and tell you where that's from, because I don't know which book it came from. For Carolyn, that passage would probably be more like read books, listen to classical music, and go shopping. Tomorrow there's always time for dessert. I do remember that on my graduation card when I graduated from high school before going off to the University of Georgia, she sent me a card, and it said, you don't remember all the things. When you get older, you're not going to remember all the things you did. You're going to remember all the things you didn't do. So her advice was do everything you can. That way, when you get older, you'll have, far fewer to regret. Good advice. I'm not going to say that I've been following that as well as I should. So I'm going to have some regrets that I'm going to try and get over so that I don't have them. And I'm going to try and take your advice there. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this all in one shot, guys. So I'm going to... I tried to sum her up just as best as I could for everybody. The next couple of takes are going to be a little bit more personal things and interactions between her and I, thoughts that I have, and how she directly affected me. Sorry I couldn't be there. Hope this is going to help maybe just a little bit.